Herkese merhaba, hepiniz hoş geldiniz. İzmir Dilbilim Çevresi'nin 125.sini düzenlediği Dilbilim buluşmalarındayız. Bugünkü konuğumuz Orta Doğu Teknik Üniversitesi Modern Diller bölümünden Doktor Engin Köse ve konuşmasının adı Multiple Dominance by Default, Ellipsis by Necessity, Hem Coordination in Turkish. Hocam davetimizi kabul ettiğiniz için çok teşekkür ederiz. Tekrar hoş geldiniz. Sözü
Ben
size bırakıyorum, İstediğiniz zaman başlayabilirsiniz.
ben teşekkür ederim hem davetiniz hem de tanıtımınız için. Then I'm going to switch to English and then
Okay.
start sharing my PPT and then start my speech.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Okay. All right. So, I'm going to present a summary of my dissertation titled Multiple Dominance by Default, Ellipsis by Necessity, and Analysis of Hem-Hem Coordination in Turkish. Um, I'll start with a brief introduction. Hem-Hem coordination in Turkish can conjoin various categories such as subjects, so hem Ali hem Ayşe dans etti. Direct objects, Ali hem dergiyi hem kitabı okudu. Indirect objects, Ali hem Ayşe'ye hem Zehra'ya şarkı söyledi. Adjuncts, Ali hem sabah hem öğleden sonra ders çalıştı. Verbs, Ali hem güldü hem ağladı. And finally, clauses, hem Hasan işe gitti hem Ali çarşıya çıktı. So hem coordination actually comes with two main puzzles based on the observations that we have. The first puzzle is about the size of the conjuncts. For a sentence like hem Ali hem Ayşe geldi, so the question is it a small coordination analysis like we see here in this structure, where we have a coordination of determiner phrases like hem Ali and hem Ayşe? Or is it a big coordination, or in other words, clausal coordination analysis, where we have two separate conjuncts, like hem Ali geldi, hem Ayşe geldi, and then we have a PF reduction, and the sentence surfaces as hem Ali, hem Ayşe geldi. So for this puzzle, I propose that hem-hem coordination requires clausal coordination for all cases, for all syntactic environments. And this preference, the fact that clausal coordination is the default analysis, comes with another puzzle actually, which is about the PF reduction mechanism. So we have several options such as ellipsis, like we see on the left-hand side here. So we have a conjunct hem Ali geldi and another conjunct hem Ayşe geldi. And then a part of the first conjunct is elided. So this would be the ellipsis analysis. The second possibility is the multiple dominance analysis, as we see on the right-hand side, in which case we have a single instance of geldi, the predicate, and it is shared across conjuncts. So it is interpreted as part of the first conjunct and also as part of the second conjunct. And the third option is the interaction. So we are going to talk about this later on, but in the most basic sense, let's say, the default mechanism I propose that is that it is the multiple dominance analysis. The main mechanism responsible for this pair reduction is the multiple dominance analysis. Before we come to this, we will first start with the first puzzle. And I'm going to present some pieces of evidence for clausal coordination. The first evidence comes from multiple events reading. Here's an example. Hem Ali hem Ayşe arabayı yıkadı. For this sentence, we have, when we look at the interpretation, Ali washed the car and Ayşe washed the car, we have two car washing events. And the most natural way to represent these two events is actually through two separate conjuncts. So underlyingly, the sentence is hem Ali arabayı yıkadı, hem Ayşe arabayı yıkadı. And then with this PF reduction mechanisms, we get rid of a part of this first conjunct. The second piece of evidence comes from collective predicates. Here's an example of a collective predicate. So beraber or birlikte or buluşmak, öpüşmek, these are called collective predicates and they require semantic plurality. So if you look at sentence 8, çocuklar beraber okula gitti, we have a plural subject. And in the same way, it's also possible to do this with coordination like Ali ve Ayşe. Ali ve Ayşe beraber okula gitti. Again is a grammatical sentence because we have this plural subject. However, this doesn't work the same way with hem coordination. If you look at sentence 9, hem Ali hem Ayşe beraber okula gitti. The sentence is ungrammatical on the reading that Ali and Ayşe went to school together. And the reason for this is that we have, again, separate conjuncts. If you look at the underlying representation in 10, we have beraber in each conjunct, but since the subjects of these conjuncts are singular, the conjuncts cannot meet the requirement of this plurality of the collective predicates. That's why this is another piece of evidence for clausal coordination. And third and last piece of evidence for clausal coordination comes from the sloppy identity reading of the reflexive kendi, as in sentence 11, hem Ali hem Ayşe kendini değerlendirdi, as a reading where Ali evaluated himself and Ayşe evaluated herself. So in order to have this sloppy reading, we need a clausal coordination of this sentence. So we are going to analyze these sentences in a more detailed way. But basically these are the pieces of evidence for this big coordination. And as I said earlier, I propose that multiple dominance analysis is the default mechanism. And there are several reasons for why we say so. For a sentence like 12, hem Ali hem Ayşe geldi, the options are like these ellipses, as I explained earlier, or the multiple dominance analysis. And this actually, the reason why we propose that MD analysis is the default mechanism is because of a principle called the economy principle, suggested by Barbara Çitko and Martina Graceni-Yüksek, which suggests basically the PF reduction is subject to economy, and economy prefers or favors the derivation that requires fewer items and operations. And when we compare these two derivations, multiple dominance analysis actually has fewer lexical items. And since both of these derivations arrive at the same surface string, the surface string in 12, and the same derivation, same interpretation, the economy principle favors the multiple dominance analysis. So this is the main reason why we try to go for the multiple dominance analysis. Let's see how this multiple dominance analysis explain or accounts for the observations that we have had so far. The first one was the multiple events reading. As in sentence 13, hem Ali hem Ayşe arabayı yıkadı. We have two instances of car washing. And under the multiple dominance analysis, the derivation looks like this. This little V bar is interpreted as part of the first conjunct. So arabayı yıkadı is interpreted as part of the first conjunct, and also it is interpreted as part of the second conjunct. And naturally, this gives us the interpretation where we have multiple events, and this is how the MD analysis derives this sentence, as well as the interpretation, of course. The second piece of evidence was about how hem coordination is incompatible with collective predicates. Here's another example for the collective predicates. Hem Ali hem Ayşe buluştu is ungrammatical on the reading that Ali and Ayşe met, together. So under the MD analysis, the derivation looks like this. As I said earlier, the collective predicate requires semantic plurality, but when we look at these two conjuncts, we have two singular subjects, and therefore this derivation does not converge. It crashes because the requirements of the collective predicate is not met. And the third piece of evidence was about sloppy identity reading with the reflexive kendi. So hem Ali hem Ayşe kendini değerlendirdi. Has a reading where Ali evaluated himself and Ayşe evaluated herself. I propose that this sentence actually has an underlying reading, an underlying structure like we see in 16. Hem Ali hem Ayşe kendilerini değerlendirdi. And there are two mechanisms responsible for this for this underlying structure. The first one is the split and antecedents, which means there are two separate entities, Ali and Ayşe in this case, and they bind a single plural reflexive, which is kendilerini in this structure. And this is not surprising because we see these kind of structures in other languages such as English, as in sentence 17. Mary showed Paul a nice picture of themselves, just like we see in the Turkish example, two separate antecedents, two separate split antecedents bind a plural reflexive in 17. And again, a similar thing also is observed in Turkish in different structures. So Ali Oya'ya Ankara'ya kendilerinin gönderileceğini söyledi. Once again, two split antecedents bind a single plural reflexive. Another mechanism responsible for the underlying structure in 16 is actually the optionality of the plural marker on the reflexive kendi. So here's an example to explain what we mean by that. In sentence 18, çocuklar kendilerini kurtardı. We have the interpretation where each child saved himself or herself. However, when we omit this plural marker, the sentence can still mean the same thing. Çocuklar kendini kurtardı can still mean each child saved himself and herself. And these two mechanisms help us to create a structure like 16, and we have the multiple dominance analysis to account for the surface string and the interpretation of this sentence. So let me show you the derivation. Again, the same sentence. So in this derivation, we have split antecedents binding this single reflexive kendi. And as you see, it might be a bit small, but we have two indices on kendi, I plus K. So it refers to Ali and Ayşe. And since we have this plural feature on the reflexive, we have this agreement relation between the agerhead, agreement head, and the reflexive. And we have this lerini as the agreement head. So agreement head surfaces at as lerini. But as I explained, this leri is simply optional when we have reflexive like çocuklar kendini değerlendirdi. The same applies here, and leri is omitted, and we have the surface string hem Ali hem Ayşe kendini değerlendirdi. Okay. So in addition to these observations, we have some other observations as well with hem-hem coordination. For instance, we have something called cumulative agreement. Sentence 20, hem ben geldim, hem Ali geldi, can be PF reduced to hem ben, hem Ali geldik. And this is also something that can be observed in other languages, as in English. So Sue is proud that Bill and Mary is glad that John have traveled to Cameroon. So these two subjects in two separate conjuncts contribute to the plurality of the auxiliary have traveled. And the sentence is completely grammatical, and this is possible thanks to the multiple dominance analysis according to Patrick Gross. And based on this, adopting this analysis, hem ben hem Ali geldik in Turkish is derived as in 23b. We have two separate subjects in two separate conjuncts, and they contribute to the plurality on the T head, so it becomes geldik with the help of with the contribution of these two subjects. So very similar to English. Okay, so far I have shown that multiple dominance analysis can account for identical shared material to be PF reduced, like we see in 24. So this sentence can be PF reduced to 24B hem Ali hem Ayşe toplantıya katıldı. And sometimes non-identical material can also be PF reduced as in 25. So hem ben hem Ali geldik. Next, I'm going to show you some possessive constructions, and there are going to be two categories. First, I'll start with identical material being shared across conjuncts, and I'm going to also show some non-identical material in these possessive constructions and how they can be derived under the MD analysis. So I'll start with the identical shared material in hem-hem coordination with possessive constructions. And I'll do that with the help of sentence 26. Hem Ali hem Ayşe evlerini sattı. As the title suggests, there are collective and external referent readings of this sentence. I'm going to go over them one by one. The first collective reading that we can get from this sentence is that Ali and Ayşe sold their shared house. So a single shared house sold by Ali and Ayşe on separate occasions. The second collective reading is that Ali and Ayşe sold their shared houses. So this time we have multiple shared houses. In addition to these collective readings, we also have external reference readings, as in Ali and Ayşe sold someone else's shared house, a single shared house, but it belongs to someone other than Ali and Ayşe. And also, Ali and Ayşe sold someone else's shared houses. So this time, multiple houses belonging to some other people. So we will start with the first collective reading, and I'll show how it is derived under the MD analysis. So hem Ali hem Ayşe evlerini sattı is derived as in 27B. Under this analysis, we have a single shared little v bar, and the possessor in the possessive construction, the pro, is bound by Ali and Ayşe. So since it has a plural feature, we have the agreement taking place between the aggerhead and the possessor. And because of this plurality, coming from the indices, we have the agreement head surfacing as leri. So the sentence is hem Ali hem Ayşe evlerini sattı. And this suggests that this derivation shows that there is a single shared house sold. The second collective reading is Ali and Ayşe sold their shared houses. Again with the same sentence, hem Ali hem Ayşe evlerini sattı, is derived under MD analysis again. And similarly, we have a bulk sharing of the little v bar, and the possessor in the agreement phrase is bound by Ali and Ayşe, the subjects of these two separate conjuncts. And once again, we have the agreement taking place because of the plural feature on the possessor pro. And since this time the interpretation suggests that there are multiple shared houses, under this NP, we have ler. So it is not this time, it's not F, but it is evler to show that there are multiple houses. And this gives us two identical material, two identical morphemes. So it is evler, lerini sattı. And at this point, we have a phenomenon called haplology, which kicks in this case, because the haplology basically suggests that if there are two identical materials, like we see in this case, evler, lerini sattı, two plural markers, they are reduced to one. So in order to avoid ungrammaticality, the sentence, even though underlyingly it is evler, lerini sattı, it surfaces as hem Ali hem Ayşe evlerini sattı. So the next interpretation of the same sentence is an external referent reading with a single shared house. Again, the derivation is quite similar to the previous cases. We have a bulk sharing of the little v bar, and this time the possessor pro is co-indexed with an external referent, actually two external referents. So as an example, in this derivation, we have Selin and Mehmet. And since we have a plural feature on the possessor, once again, we have this agreement taking place, and the aggerhead surfaces with the third person plural agreement as well as the accusative case. So the sentence once again gives us the same surface string, but this time with an external reference reading with a single shared house. And lastly, we have the multiple shared house reading. Once again, we have the pro co-indexed with Selin and Mehmet in this derivation. And then we have the agreement taking place. In order to account for the multiple shared house reading, we have the poodle marker on the MPF. And once again, haplology kicks in because we have two identical two identical morphemes that appear next to one another, and they are reduced to one. And this gives us the required surface string as well as the interpretation. Okay, now I'm going to continue with the second category, which basically is in which I explain how non-identical material can be derived under the MD analysis with the same sentence. So hem Ali hem Ayşe evlerini sattı can also have a distributive reading where Ali sold his house and Ayşe sold her house. And also, it can also mean Ali sold his houses and Ayşe sold her houses. So I'll start with the first distributive reading. So one house belonging to each person. This time, different from the previous derivations, we have a non-bulk sharing. We have two separate little v bars. And the reason why we have this difference is that we need two separate possessors for the possessed entity. So for the first conjunct, we have Ali binding the possessor, the null possessor in the first conjunct, and Ayşe binding the possessor in the second conjunct. And this allows us to have the reading where Ali has his own house, or Ali sold his own house, and Ayşe sold her own house. And similar to the cumulative agreement mechanism, these two separate possessors contribute with the combined contribution of these two separate possessors, we have this plural agreement marker surfacing. So the sentence becomes hem Ali hem Ayşe evlerini sattı, but this time the reading gives us this separate houses. And secondly, we also have these plural multiple houses. Similar to the previous case, similar to the previous derivation, once again, we have separate little v bars, and the possessor is bound by Ali in the first conjunct and Ayşe in the second conjunct. And once again, with the combined contribution of these possessors, we have the third person plural agreement for the aggregate. And in order to have multiple house reading, we have evler as the MP of this construction. And then haplology kicks in once again to avoid repetition of the same morpheme that appear next to one another. And they are reduced to one, once again giving us the required surface string with the interpretation Ali sold his houses and Ayşe sold her houses. Okay, so another observation that we have for hem-hem coordination is that there are some sentences like 34 where we have a strict identity reading under cumulative agreement. So hem Ali hem ben babamı seviyoruz has only the reading where Ali and I like my father. So both subjects like the same person. And this is possible to derive under the MD analysis, as in 34b. We have a bulk sharing of the little v bar, and the possessor of this agreement phrase is the null candy, and this candy is bound by ben only. So not this time this is not something combined, but rather it is bound only by the second subject in the sentence. And therefore, since we have this first person singular feature on the reflexive, the agreement surfaces as mı, and the sentence becomes hem Ali hem ben babamı seviyoruz. As for the cumulative agreement, as I explained earlier, with the combined contribution of these two subjects, Ali and ben, the matrix verb surfaces as seviyoruz. And this gives us the surface string and the required interpretation. In the same way, we can derive this sentence in a slightly different way for the interpretation. So the sentence hem Ali hem ben babasını seviyoruz. This time means both subjects like Ali's father. And this is possible with a similar derivation. We have a bulk sharing of the little v bar. We have binding relation between Ali and the null possessor this time instead of Ben. And therefore, since we have third person singular feature on the null possessor, the agreement had surfaced as sını because of this third person feature, and the sentence becomes hem Ali hem ben babasını seviyoruz. Again, the combined contribution leads to the cumulative agreement. Okay. The next observation that we have is that there is negation ambiguity in hem coordination. So let's see an example. Hem Ali hem Ayşe düşmedi can have the meaning where neither Ali nor Ayşe fell, which we call as low scope reading. And it can also mean it's not the case that both Ali and Ayşe fell, which we call as high scope reading. So for this high scope reading, the sentence can continue like this. So hem Ali hem Ayşe düşmedi, sadece Ali düştü. Or hem Ali hem Ayşe düşmedi, sadece Ayşe düştü. So this is the high scope reading, and the low scope reading is more straightforward. Neither of them fell. So in order to have this ambiguity, so basically I propose that this ambiguity arises because this neghead is shared, is multiply dominated across conjuncts. So according to Bachrach and Katsir, for a shared node like this neghead to be spelled out, it must be completely dominated. So here is the complete dominance definition. A node A completely dominates a node B if every path from B upwards to the root includes A. So when we look at this derivation, there's a path from the neckhead towards the root through the first conjunct, and there is another path through the second conjunct. So based on this, we can say that none of these nodes in between the root node and the neckhead can completely dominate this neckhead. So the only node that completely dominates the neckhead is the coordination phrase, which means the negation head is spelled out only when these two separate conjuncts are conjoined. So the neckhead can be spelled out here either high, or it can be interpreted in the position that it originates, which gives us, so if we interpret the neckhead at the position where it originates, it gives us the low scope reading, neither Ali nor Ayşe fell. Or if we interpret it at the high position where it is spelled out, we have the reading where it's not the case that both Ali and Ayşe fell, so the high scope reading. So this is how the negation ambiguity is derived under the MD analysis. Another observation that we have is that it is possible to have suspended affixation in hem coordination. So sentences like 37, galerici hem Ali'ye hem Ayşe'ye arabayı sattı, can be PF reduced to galerici hem Ali hem Ayşe'ye arabayı sattı. So in this, the difference is that we have the dative case only once in sentence B, but in sentence A, we have it on both Ali and Ayşe. And MD analysis can account for this. So this is the derivation of sentence 38. The case phrase at the very bottom of this derivation, ye, is shared across conjunct, so it is interpreted as part of the first case phrase, Aliye, and it's also interpreted as part of the second case phrase, Ayşe'ye, and therefore the sentence gives us the required interpretation, and the dative case ye appears only once in the sentence. Okay, so far we have seen some sentences that can be derived through the MD analysis, but there are also some sentences that cannot be derived via MD, and for such cases, ellipsis can be the solution. Um, so let's see some of these examples. So for a sentence like 39, hem Ali kendisini değerlendirdi, hem Ayşe kendisini değerlendirdi. We can have a PF reduction like in 40, hem Ali hem Ayşe kendisini değerlendirdi, and it would be completely grammatical. However, the MD analysis cannot derive this sentence in 40. So if we try to derive this sentence with the MD analysis, this is what we would get. So under a hypothetical MD analysis, we would have the reflective candy bound by Ali and Ayşe at the same time, which would give it a plural feature. And therefore, the agreement head would surface as leri. So the sentence would become hem Ali hem Ayşe kendilerini değerlendirdi. Or if we use the optionality, the sentence becomes hem Ali hem Ayşe kendini değerlendirdi. But we can never have kendisini değerlendirdi as the surface string with the MD analysis. And that's why for such a sentence, we need the ellipsis analysis. And here is how the ellipsis analysis accounts for this sentence. As you see, on the left-hand side, we have a conjunct which has hem Ali kendisini değerlendirdi, in which case kendi in the first conjunct is bound by Ali. And we have something similar in the right-hand side in the second conjunct. Kendi in the second conjunct is bound by Ayşe. And since these two separate reflexives have singular features, they get this agreement surfacing as sine. So it becomes Ali kendisini değerlendirdi, Ayşe kendisini değerlendirdi. And with the ellipsis analysis, we omit a part of the first conjunct. So the predicate kendisini değerlendirdi is elided. And then the sentence has the surface string as hem Ali hem Ayşe kendisini değerlendirdi. A similar problem with the multiple dominance analysis can also surface with the suspended affixation with non-identical material. So galerici hem Hasan'a hem Ali'ye arabayı sattı can be PF reduced to galerici hem Hasan hem Ali'ye arabayı sattı. And under the MD analysis, the problem is that if we share the case across conjuncts, the sentence would look like, the derivation would look like this. So it looks like Hasan ye and Ali ye, or Hasan a and Ali a, which is not possible. So this would be a problem for the MD analysis. On the other hand, the ellipsis analysis easily solve this problem. So we have on the first conjunct we have galerici Hasan'a arabayı sattı and galerici Ali'ye arabayı sattı in the second conjunct. And after we create this, after we derive this, a part of the first conjunct arabayı sattı is elided, and the sentence, the derivation gives us the required surface string. However, there are also some sentences that ellipsis cannot account for, cannot derive. Negation ambiguity is one of them. So if you remember, we said that sentence 47 is ambiguous between two readings. We said that it can have a low scope or it can have a high scope. But with the ellipsis analysis, so this is the derivation with the ellipsis analysis, it is easy to get the low scope reading because the derivation would look like this. Ali düşmedi and Ayşe düşmedi. So this gives us the neither nor reading. But because there is no sharing, it is not possible to spell out this neghead across, sorry, not across, it's over the conjunct. So it is impossible to interpret negation head above the conjuncts, which leads us not to have the high scope reading. So it is impossible to get this high scope reading under the ellipsis analysis. So that's a problem for this analysis. Another problem of ellipsis analysis is that it cannot account for the cumulative agreement. So hem ben hem Ali geldik. Under a hypothetical ellipsis analysis, the sentence would be derived as ben geldim and Ali geldi. And then a part of the first conjunct is elided. So geldim is elided. But then the sentence would surface as hem ben hem Ali geldi, which is not the surface structure that we are looking for in 48A. So that's another problem of the ellipsis analysis. Then another question is that, is it possible to have an interaction of these two analyses, multiple dominance and ellipsis? So actually there are some hem-hem coordination sentences that requires it, because let's check sentence 49. Hem Ali hem Ayşe kendisini değerlendirmedi. Needs to have an interaction of these two analyses. The reason why we say so is that, if you remember, for a third person agreement on the reflexive kendi, we need the ellipsis analysis, because the MD analysis can give us only kendini or kendilerini. To have kendisini, we need the ellipsis analysis. And for the negation ambiguity, which we have in this sentence, we need the ellipsis analysis, we need the multiple dominance analysis, because the ellipsis cannot have that ambiguity. So, but this is not surprising, because we have similar things in other languages as well. So if you look at sentence 50, Alice must and Iris ought to be working on different topics. This sentence also has properties indicative of ellipsis and multiple dominance at the same time. So when we look at work and working, we have a morphological mismatch, which is a property of the ellipsis analysis. And as for the different topics, so this different is a relational adjective, and relational adjectives have an internal reading. When we say internal reading, this means basically for this sentence, the topic Alice works on and the topic that Iris works on should be different from one another internally. So they should be, so Alice should work on X and Iris should work on Y. So that means they are working on different topics internally, and this is possible only with the MD analysis. And this suggests that we have a combination of these two analyses we need a combination of these two analyses for sentence 50. It's also possible to see such constructions in Turkish. If you look at sentence 51, Funda Aylin'in ben de senin Amerika'ya taşınmana sevindik. The morphological mismatch between taşınmasına and taşınmana is a property indicative of the ellipsis analysis. And the cumulative agreement on the matrix verb sevindik is a property of the multiple dominance analysis. So this also shows that interaction is possible in various structures. And based on these considerations, this is how we derive this sentence, which includes both MD and the ellipsis analysis. If you look at the left-hand side of this syntactic tree, we have kendisini on the first conjunct and kendisini on the second conjunct as well, because we need this ellipsis analysis to account for the third person singular agreement on the reflexive. And as for the multiple dominance analysis, if you remember, we said that we need the multiple dominance to account for the ambiguity of the negation. So for the negation ambiguity, so the neg head is shared across conjuncts, and therefore we have both analysis, both derivation, both ellipsis and MD for this derivation. Another sentence that shows us that we need the interaction of multiple dominance and ellipsis is sentences like 53. Galerici hem Hasan hem Ali'ye aynı arabayı sattı. So we have Hasan'a Ali'ye difference. So we have a morphological mismatch which requires the ellipsis analysis. And we have a relational adjective aynı, which requires the multiple dominance analysis. So once again, so the interaction analysis can account for this surface structure and the interpretation. In order to account for the morphological mismatch of the dative case, we have a case phrase on the first conjunct, which shows us as Hasan'a. And we have another case phrase Ali'ye. A part of this first conjunct, this case head a, is elided under the ellipse analysis. And in order to account for the internal reading of the relational adjective aynı, we have the multiple dominance analysis. So once again, we have this uh, combination or interaction of multiple dominance and ellipsis to account for this sentence. Okay, so the economy constraint on interaction. So this constraint suggests that interaction is governed by economy and employed if necessary. So the reason why we need such a constraint is shown with sentences like 54. So sentence 54, hem Ali hem ben babamı seviyoruz. We analyzed this sentence earlier. So this sentence has the reading where Ali and I love my father, which is the strict identity reading, but it doesn't have the sloppy identity reading. So this sentence cannot mean Ali likes his father and I love my father. And we know that this is possible with the multiple dominance analysis. So we have the binding relation between the possessor and the subject of the second conjunct. And then we have the agreement relation between the agerhead and the null possessor, null kendi possessor. And we have this strict identity reading and not sloppy identity reading. However, if we do not have this constraint on interaction, so if we just vacuously apply interaction even though we don't need it, this is what we have. So this is the hypothetical interaction analysis of the same sentence. So we can derive this sentence under the interaction analysis by having
Bağlantıda kopma
binding the
yaşadık
possessor
sanırım
and
hocam.
then the
Ee,
okay. So it all right. So how about now? Is it okay?
yes, it's great now.
Okay. Shall I go back or
No, no, no. That just the slide.
okay. All right. So maybe I can start explaining this part once again. So if we have this interaction analysis applying to this sentence, we would have this binding relation between Ali and the possessor in the first conjunct, Ben and the possessor in the second conjunct, and therefore we would have this agreement relation, Ali babasını and Ben babamı. And then based on this interaction analysis, we would elide a part of this first conjunct and the surface string would be hem Ali hem ben babamı seviyoruz. But this derivation, because of the way it is created, because of the way it is derived, would give us and would make an incorrect prediction about the interpretation. So this derivation would make it possible to have sloppy identity reading where Ali likes his father and I love my father. And it disallows the strict identity reading where Ali and I love my father. And this is the opposite of what we have for this sentence. So the interaction analysis, when we apply it, even if we don't need it, so for a sentence that can be accounted for by the MD analysis, the predictions might be problematic. That's why we need the constraint on interaction. Another sentence that shows we need this constraint is sentence 56. Hem Ali hem ben kendimi değerlendirdik. So this sentence is ungrammatical. And if we apply this interaction analysis, the derivation would look like this. Ali kendisini, ben kendimi değerlendirdik. And then kendisini in the first conjunct would be elided, would be deleted. And the surface string would be hem Ali hem ben kendimi değerlendirdik. So the derivation looks okay, but the sentence is not. The sentence is ungrammatical, and this means we have a problem with the derivation, right? So in this derivation incorrectly predicts this sentence to be grammatical. But for this interpretation, Ali evaluated himself and I evaluated myself. We can basically drive this through the multiple dominance analysis, but it would give us a different surface string. So it would be hem Ali hem ben kendimizi değerlendirdik. And it's possible to derive it through a bulk sharing of the little v bar because we went over this. So Ali and ben would bind the reflexive kendi. And because of the plural feature on the kendi, we have uh, mizi as the figurehead and the sentence becomes hem Ali hem ben kendimizi değerlendirdik. So this is how this interpretation would be derived. So the conclusion, so in my dissertation, I tried to present a syntactic account of hem-hem coordination with different agreement patterns, binding and scope relations. And I have provided evidence for a non-uniform approach to hem-hem coordination in Turkish and more generally right note raising structures because hem-hem coordination is an instance of right note raising in a more general sense. And the choice of mechanism, the choice of PF reduction mechanism is and actually should be governed by economy. Otherwise, there might be some issues, some problems, some incorrect predictions as I have shown earlier. So these are my references and thank you.
Çok teşekkürler hocam sunumunuz için ve vaktimizi de çok iyi kullandık bence.
Ben teşekkür ederim.
Emeğinize sağlık. Şimdi soru cevap kısmına geçebiliriz. Sorusu olan el kaldırma butonunu kullanarak sesli bir şekilde ya da chat'e yazarak da sorularını sorabilirler. Mikrofonunuzu açıp da sorabilirsiniz isterseniz. Teşekkürler geliyor hocam chatten de size.
Ben teşekkür ederim katılımınız için.
Şöyle bakıyorum tekrar sorusu olan var mı diye ama el kaldıran yok sanırım.
Ben teşekkür ederim.
Sorusu olan yoksa o zaman bitirebiliriz isterseniz.
Yok gibi
Teşekkürler var
gözüküyor.
şeyde panelde. Onun dışında bir şey yok gibi görünüyor.
Tekrardan ben teşekkür ediyorum Murat Hocam davetiniz için.
Ne demek? Biz teşekkür ederiz. Dilbilim
Biz
bölümü
teşekkür
adına.
Ee,
Evet, şey yapabilirsin.
e,
Toparlayabilirsin
evet
istiyorsan.
hocam haftaya hatırlatayım 126.'sı düzenlenecek. Doktor Alper Kesici bizimle olacak.
O da aramızda galiba. Evet, dinliyor şu
Yine
an.
Orta Doğu
Dinliyoruz.
Teknik
Bakıyoruz.
Üniversitesi'nden. Merhaba.
Merhaba Alper.
Hepinizi haftaya da bekliyoruz.
Evet, görüşmek üzere. İyi
Görüşmek
akşamlar.
üzere. İyi akşamlar.
İyi akşamlar.